Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Professional Service Group of Mercer County. PSG of Mercer County is a group that is here for you, anybody that is in any kind of career transition. And of course, in addition to welcoming you to PSG of Mercer County, we say, Happy Aloha Friday. And so some of you know I do wear my Aloha shirts every Friday, except when I'm on vacation. I wear them more often. And by the way, this one, Valerie, is one you gave me a number of years ago, so I always make sure I wear this one when we are together. In addition to being Aloha Friday, today is National Cherry Popsicle Day. So didn't know if you knew that, but I wanted to let you know. So today would be a good day to use a tasty treat of a cherry popsicle. It's going to be a hot one, I think, a little bit later this weekend, so you may enjoy a cherry popsicle. Go out to your supermarket and get some. Want to let you know some of the resources that we do have for anyone who's in a job search, whether you are a member of this group or you know people that are in job search, not yet a member of our group. They can use these resources as well. We do have a LinkedIn group, and actually one small limitation with the LinkedIn group, it is only for members of our group, people that have been here before. So you can refer your friends or people that you know to our LinkedIn group. If they request to join and we don't have a record of their attendance, we'll actually just remind them of that and ask them to attend one of our virtual or in-person meetings. And we do that on purpose because what we're trying to keep out are the list collectors, the people that are just kind of gathering names for their own purposes only. But once you have visited us, either in person or virtually, and we can validate that we accept you into our group. Our LinkedIn group has over 1,700 members. It's a lot of people. So even if your own personal network doesn't quite have that many, by joining our group, you've extended your professional network in LinkedIn by up to 1,700 and change people. So you may want to do that because you never know in job search. You may want to reach out to someone on LinkedIn. Maybe they've got a connection for you at the company you're interested in. Good chance that if you reach out to them and they are in our group, they'll probably write back to you because they kind of get job search. They understand the importance of it, and they'll want to help you the way you would hopefully help them. So, and also once in a group, share leads that you have, you know, that are not quite right for you, but maybe you got that terrific email or a position that you heard of that's not quite right for you. Post it in LinkedIn. You can share it with the 1,700 other people that are there. And in addition, your activity in LinkedIn is just good for your profile. So be a little active on LinkedIn. In addition, we do have our website. Our website is psgofmercercounty.org. psgofmercercounty.org. It is more than just the landing page. If you haven't visited our website yet, psgofmercercounty.org is over 120 pages of web content. It's a lot of information, so go take a look. Among that, we do have a menu along the top, and among them is a menu item called Professional Development. You may want to take a look at that menu item and the pages that are in it. What we do have, one page there is called e-learning. So if you are interested in learning new skills or acquiring certifications or being active and learning a little bit during your job search, pick the e-learning menu, pick the professional development menu item, click on that link for e-learning. We have links to 90 e-learning websites. We've been building this up over time. It's a very robust list. A lot of those sites are even free, or you don't need a full subscription for some sites. You just pick the one class that you're interested in. So go take a look. You know, when you're in an interview and somebody asks, what have you been doing while you've been out? Well, you can say, I've been job hunting, and that's certainly the truth. But if you say, I've taken some online training, that's a more powerful answer. So you may have the opportunity to learn something new. Go take a look at that tab, and you may find a site that's helpful to you. So in just a moment, I will introduce Valerie, and she will step up here as well with her program. And remember that we do ask keep your microphones on mute, just as a courtesy, good practice, so there's no accidental background noise. With this dry weather, a lot of leaves are falling off the trees, so it could be a leaf blower in your backyard. We don't want that noise coming through. And for questions and answers, again, we will be using chat as well. Either just type the word question, which we'll monitor, or you can type the word question and we will read it on your behalf. And of course, folks that are here, just raise your hand and Valerie will address your question as needed. So with that, PSG of Mercer County is pleased to welcome Valerie S. Williams, and the S stands for special. Valerie S. Williams is a project manager professional and Scrum Master who earned her BS in Computer Science from Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia. Oops. There we go. Valerie started her IT career by programming in Lotus Notes and teaching computer skills, including Microsoft Project. After her first transition and networking with high school friends, Valerie changed careers by moving into a new industry and working with a startup company. After her second transition and networking, she managed multiple programming teams and several support groups, which included international team members. After Valerie's third transition, she learned that the process for looking for a new career changed immensely while attending multiple networking groups like this. Valerie has converted from a contractor at Bristol Myers Squibb to a full-time employee. Yay. How did she do that? Today we'll find out how and her advocates have helped her to land a new position. So PSG of Mercer County is pleased to welcome our very favorite Williams, Valerie S. Williams. Thank you, Valerie.
Valerie is taller now.
Wow.
So thank you, David. I was sitting where you are, so I understand what you're going through, and that's why I'm here to get back. There are a lot of slides. So for the housekeeping, I want to let you know that the slides will be provided. There's a lot of color in these slides, so I also made one that is very plain, white background. Make sure I have it right. There we go. So if you don't get everything down, don't worry about it. Because there's so many slides, I might go through some of them a little quicker than others, but you will have them at your disposal. We welcome questions because that's how we all learn. And sometimes I forget to say things and somebody will ask a question and it'll jar my memory. So definitely ask questions. And for those of you in the room, just ignore that fan, that's for me. But if I start patting my face, I'm just having a hot flash, okay? Don't worry about it. All right? So one of the things that I found when we are in these different groups, there's somebody who comes here and speaks for a specific topic. That topic may or may not pertain to you, which means you may or may not join. A lot of these things that are in here are from all these different meetings that I attended, but because you're in different areas within your process, some of this might not pertain to you. So as Marty Lattman said, it depends. So whatever you do, it may or may not pertain to you. Keep what you need, throw out what you don't. Okay. The first thing I want to talk about is our state of mind. When I was laid off 3 times, it had nothing to do with me. Each time I had a different reaction to it. The first time I was like shocked. I went home, had a shot, and went to bed. My second time I was expecting it, but it came a little faster than I thought. And the third time I was like, oh, thank goodness I'm out here. So you have different states of mind, and you should acknowledge that. Any feeling that you have is valid. It's okay to have it. You should go ahead and feel that. You just don't want to wallow in it. But you want to make sure you take time to regroup. You try to keep positive. Look at your finances. I put that in there because once I knew how much money I had to fall back on, I knew how long I had to really regroup and figure out what I wanted to do before I had to have a job. And that made me feel a little bit better. I knew I had a little money in my back pocket. Laugh a lot. My friends took me out a lot and they made sure I laughed and had a good time. Sometimes they would leave $20 in my car for gas and things like that. So sometimes just being around friends are very helpful. Let them know what you're going through because they will be very supportive. But most importantly, leave the house. I know some of you are online, that's okay. But for those of you who are here, that's good that you left the house because sometimes just getting out of your environment makes you feel better. If you put on clothes, definitely pants. For ladies, put on a little lipstick, do your hair. It makes you feel a little bit better and it gets you going. And that's really important. We're not going to watch this video, but I highly recommend this video. I found it well after I've done some of my presentations. It's a TED Talk. These are free. Sometimes they ask you to sign in, but if you have a Gmail account, you just kind of connect it with TED Talk. You don't have to pay a membership or anything. But this is called The Best Career Path Isn't Always a Straight Line. And there's a link. So when you get the slides, there is a link in there to watch it. And I just want to give you an example. Here is a squiggly line for me. So I was volunteering with PMI, which is Project Management Institute. One of the guys went to a meeting, talked to someone there, and said, that's not for me, but I know somebody who that position might be good for, which is exactly what David was telling you. And he came back and said, hey, Valerie, I talked to somebody at Alpha Consulting. They have this position. They placed me at BMS, Bristol Myers Squibb. I was a project manager there. I moved around within a company. Every time they asked me, do you want to take that project? I said yes. Keyword was yes. Doesn't matter what it was. Yes, I'll take it. Didn't know anything about certain areas, but I went anyway. And then because I was doing that, I got involved in what they call the business, the professional PBRGs, people business resource groups. So they have all these different groups, the veterans, the Latin, the Pan-Asian, the Black organization. So they have women, all these different groups. So I got involved with those and networked within those groups. And because I was able to network within those groups, I landed a full-time position as enterprise governance. So that's not how you would normally get a job. Remember, you would pull out the paper, you look at it, you circle it, you make that phone call, you drop it. Those days are gone. So you want to network. This just didn't happen in my professional life. This also happened in my side life, which is my hobby. I do photography as a hobby. I went to a conference. I met someone there. They actually invited me to their job. They had a networking group for women in IT. I went there. I networked. I met some people. I met some people who were driving into Pennsylvania, who lived here in Hamilton. And we went through all these different things, but I was also able to use that to leverage to meet a photographer, Sharon Farmer, who's actually a White House photographer. And in doing that, using LinkedIn to connect with her, I talked to her. I went to their the group that she has in Washington, D.C., and met her in person, and then I was able to get her to present at our club. But in terms of doing all of that, it was just a squiggly line. It was just like wherever you are, I don't care if you're in a grocery store, you're in a library, talk to people, let them know you're looking, because you never know who may know whom. Okay. So when I talk about connections, you have all type of connections. You have the phone, you have email, you have Facebook, you have LinkedIn, you have sports. This is why I say go anywhere. Coffee jobs. And I have a friend who still sends me that yearly Christmas tacky Xerox letter. You know, tells you everything that you've been doing in a year. So that's a good thing to do. Stay in touch with people any way you can. It really helps. You can also use social media to stay in contact with people. I know the one on the right is an eyesore. Don't try to read it. There's a link in the slide deck for it. But it tells you, depending on your industry, exactly what social media applications and lists and things would be appropriate for you to try to utilize to land a new job. Okay. But be careful with social media, because as you see, people post things without thinking, and next thing you know, they lost their job. So keep that in mind as you're using social media, but you can use that to actually find different jobs. Twitter is also really good for looking for jobs. Other ways that you can network and connect is with your volunteering. Here's a list of volunteering organizations. You can volunteer at your church. You can volunteer with PSG. Just reach out, because the more people see that you can do, the better they get to know you. And then when something comes up, then they can actually go ahead and advocate for you. All right. David was talking about all the different groups. I'm not sure if any of you know Alex Florin. Some people are nodding. So Alex has a website. There's some networking groups here. Find one that works for you. If you go to a networking group and it doesn't gel, just don't go back. Just find another one. But there's a list here that he keeps up that you can utilize. And then we have our organizational meetings. For me is Project Management Institute. You can actually go to a PMI meeting as a guest. You don't have to be a member, and you can attend. So if you go on these sites, you can actually see the New Jersey chapter. We're the second largest chapter. They count DC, but I think that's cheating, because people were worldwide. But anyway, I digress. But you can go on there and see what presenters they're going to have, and then they can actually, it might be of interest to you, but you can also go to a meeting, and it's free. Also go to your LinkedIn groups. David talked about the LinkedIn groups for PSG. There's LinkedIn groups for everything. As you can see, I have the Breakfast Club, Women of Color and Pharma, Girls in Tech, because I'm an IT person. I have a Nikon because I have Nikon. If you have a Canon, that's okay. I like you anyway. But find a group that actually works for you, and they're out there. Another thing with LinkedIn, and you might want to check with your local library. I'm not sure if they still have it here at Princeton Library. But LinkedIn Learning is something where you can go, they'll give me the thumbs up in the back. So yes, you can come here to Princeton Library and go into LinkedIn Learning and take courses there as well. So David's talking about if you are in an interview, they said, what you're doing? Oh, well, I was, taking courses here and here and here, and you can list all these different places. I don't know why people think we're just sitting around eating bonbons when we're not working. We're working hard trying to find a job. So go into LinkedIn Learning and you can find things for everything. And you can even find photography, but you can find things for Excel and things like that. So take advantage of it. We have Meetup. This is not for, meeting people. This is for meeting people to connect and make connections. You can find walking groups. You can find photography groups. You can find bird watching. You can do reenactments. There's a whole host of different organizations that are on there. Some will require you to make a payment to participate, and some are free. So you just have to pay attention when people are posting things and say, oh, meet us here. And they may say, meet us here for photography. And this one guy, Michael Downing, those are usually paid events because then he helps people with their photography. There's also the Breakfast Club there. If some of you are not familiar with it, we are still virtual with the Breakfast Club, 8 a.m. on a Saturday, but that's okay. But while you're doing that, you also want to actually talk to people. And people ask me, what's the difference between somebody advocating for you? So you have your mentor. I put a definition here. I'm not going to read the definition. You also have an advocate, which is usually the person who is in a position to help you land a full-time position or even maybe a contract position. They can go there and say, I know such and such. I know David's really good at IT and this is what he's going to do, blah, 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 blah. And they can advocate for you to get that position. And then we have a sponsor. Sometimes a sponsor is a person who's in the room who can really, really say, yes, that person needs to be here. And they can actually also help you get more money. Okay. I just saw this TED Talk with Carla Harris. And it talks about how to find these different people and how to connect with them. Again, it's a link in here that you can go to find it. But Carla Harris is really great. She is in finance. And she talked about how, and for me, it was impactful because she was like, I was the only Black woman in the room. How do I handle that? How do I do it? She said, you just have to show up as an authentic self. You have to be you. Everybody else is taken but you. So just show up and show everything that you have. So I like to do a lot of things with photography. So as you can see, I keep bringing that in. I do photography, and sometimes that's a conversation starter. So keep that in mind. Do we have any questions? And then I can take a drink of water.
The websites that you talk about,
Mm-hmm.
they come out in emails. Now we websites. Do they come out? Does David post them on emails or anything?
Which websites? The one that
Like the www.flexjobs.com.
this one here?
Excuse me, one thing we'll ask is
Yes.
that when you come up, when you ask your question, you can use the microphone so everyone can hear. Maybe just Valerie.
I'll repeat the question. So the question is, does David put out these websites? I know David sends out emails on a regular basis. The ones that are in my list may or may not be on his list, so just use the ones that are in the slide deck. I do know that the LinkedIn group, they actually post a lot of things with PSG, so definitely connect to that. Were there any questions online, David?
Not that we saw.
Okay. Okay. So this is where we talk about how to make sure you're lucky. So while you're out, like David said, if you go ahead and start doing all of your training and connecting and networking, when you actually are there and ready to make it happen, you've done all these other things in the background, so you can just hit the ground running. All right, so I love this quote. First, decide who you are. That's the one thing that I did. I had to regroup. After the third time, I was like, okay, I've been in this particular position for 13 years. I don't want to do that anymore. I actually had an HR person said, I have the perfect job for you, exactly what you were doing. And I literally had heart palpitations because it stressed me out. I was like, I don't want to do it anymore. So I had to sit back and figure out, What did I like about my job and what I didn't like about my job? And then try to put those pieces together. And one time I thought I'd be paid like, again, a conversation starter. My sister was better than me. I didn't really do well. I broke 2 legs playing soccer, not at the same time. So, Pele, not me. So what we did, or what I did was went through some of these self-assessment tests. Again, these links will be available to you. They may already be on some of the PSG sites or other networking groups. But I took this to try to help me figure out what I want to do. It just told me I was a talker. I knew that when I was in grade school because my teacher put it on my report card. Valerie likes to talk. I love this because if you watch The Matrix, they always say there is no spoon. Consider everything. Really don't limit yourself to, I want a full-time job. I want it in this particular company or in this type of company. It has to be this size. Really kind of expand it. You want to look at full and part-time positions because maybe if your finances aren't as great, you might need to get money in right now. So get a part-time job. You might even look at, I think, what's a coffee company? I drink tea, so what is that? Starbucks? They're now paying for people to go back to school. So it might not work for you, but maybe you know some up and coming kids that might be helpful for it. But think about that. You can start your own business, do a nonprofit. Everybody wants to go to the big pharma company. Find some of those large or smaller biotechs because they are small, you can wear multiple hats and then you can learn more and then you can also put that on your resume. So consider that. One of the things I never considered was being a contractor. I wanted that full-time position with benefits, right? I didn't find that. I found a contracting company, Alpha Consulting. They did not offer benefits. I did have the ACA, worked beautifully, especially when I got sick. So it's there and it's available, but kind of consider being flexible. All right. I am not a resume person, but I love this little screen. You want to create a master resume. And I don't know if that was Gary Landy or somebody else. It was Gary. Yep. So Gary Landy. Thank you, Gary. He said, build a master resume. And what you're doing is you're putting everything you've ever done in your entire life on your resume. Everything. And then when you find a position that you're interested in, now you have everything, you streamline it. You focus it. You're not lying. You're just focusing and pulling out the pieces that are relevant to that job that you are actually putting your resume in for. It makes everything very helpful. One thing I always say is make sure you spell out acronyms. So I worked at a company, and if anybody's in pharma, they understand what an AE is. It's an adverse event. It's when something goes wrong with a drug. When they say it may cause headaches, diarrhea, all those wonderful things, you're like, ugh, that's an adverse event. And then you have a serious adverse event where, your throat could close up or something like that. Well, our acronym at the company was application engineer and senior application engineer. So when we abbreviated it and went to a pharma company, people were like, you're an AE? So then we had to explain it. So yes, it was a conversation starter, but it could be confusing on your resume. So spell it out, and then you can put in parentheses what the acronym is. The very last thing on there is badges. In your email, that link there that you put in there, so if you have some type of certification, you can put a badge in your email, so it shows just like a little circle, like my PMI, so it'll have like the PMI logo, and then they can click on it, and you can take them directly to that website. So it certifies that you or it's a confirmation that you have that certification. So that link is available. Again, we have all the technical skills and all those licenses, put everything on there. Again, here's some more volunteer groups that you can go to. And then I'm going to introduce myself. This is what you can do. You are at all these networking events and you're meeting people and you're talking to people, a lot of people, right? People will remember your name, they may remember how nice you were, but they're not going to remember everything that you wanted to do. Your family, they want to help you, right? My mom's like, oh, you're in IT. IT is like this big. I do programming. So you have to be very specific. So this professional summary allows you to give it to people you meet, give it to family members. It's not your resume, it's a really brief overview of who you are. You get to tell a story about yourself. You get to put in some of your education. You also get to put in what your main skills are and companies that you're looking for at the bottom. So it's a one pager. It should be short, sweet, to the point. I gave a copy of this to David as a template, so feel free to use it and create your own. But it really helps people to know who you are and what you're looking for. So I gave it to my cousin. He's like, "Oh, you do all that?" I'm like, "Yeah, thank you." You know me all my life. This is also a PowerPoint one pager. This is something that I've done at BMS. It's a good way to, maybe if you're on the phone with somebody and you're introducing yourself to them, nice visuals, especially if we're doing a lot with our online little box windows, right? You pull up a little icon and then you can talk to each of those things. Again, put things on there that you do for fun. As you can see, I have my camera club at the bottom. I can talk about my camera club, that I actually bring in the presenters for my camera club. I do help portrait, where once a year we actually set up free portraits for people who can't afford to get portraits done. So those are self-starters. You can then show that you're not just sitting around eating bonbons. You're looking for a job, you're active in hobbies, you're hiking, you're doing this, you're doing that. So that's a good one pager that you can share. If you have presentations that you've done, keep those handy, whatever it may be. Or you can actually create your own website and post it on there so people can see your skill set and what you're capable of. The elevator pitches, we're not going to go through all of these. I'm not sure you're still doing these after the meetings. No, they're okay. So practice your elevator pitch. This is when you have a chance to meet somebody and you can say, "Hi, I'm Valerie. I do boom, 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 boom." Keep it short, sweet. The longer you go, the less they listen, right? So one of the things I always do is say smile. Smile puts everybody at ease. It also makes you feel a little bit more relaxed. You want to keep different versions. Again, you don't want to be too long. You don't want to ramble. One of the things Alex always talk about is nobody cares if you were the company for 25 years. They care what you did for that company. How did you help that company? How, from you being there, help that company? And then how can you translate that into how you can help the new company that you are interviewing with? This is an example of my elevator pitch. We're going to keep that short. We always talk about the S. That's why David put that in there. Something catchy will help people to remember you. So if you can find a way to turn your name into a joke or acronym or something. I stopped saying Venus and Vanessa Williams because somebody said, call me Venus. I answered him. I literally said Valerie. And he said Venus. I said Valerie. He said Venus. I said Valerie. Venus. I gave up. He walked away. The guy standing next to me, he goes, "He just didn't want to call you Valerie." I don't know what happened. So be careful if you use different names, but do that. You also want to email your brand your email so that people can find you easily. Make sure it's something that people can remember. Make sure it's not something like new grandpa back there. You know, you want to make sure it's professional. And I know this is hard to accept, but AOL and Prodigy are no longer considered cutting edge. So if you have an AOL account, I do still have my AOL account. I use that for fun. But for professional, I use my Gmail account. So be very aware of that. If you have a personal website, use that. Your LinkedIn email, your LinkedIn URL, include that on everything and make sure you remove those trailing zeros. If you don't know, or those trailing numbers, if you don't know how to do that, let me know. It's very convoluted, it's very annoying. But if you have your whole LinkedIn and they have all these numbers at the end, it looks unprofessional. It says you're not using LinkedIn enough. Okay, so if you don't know how to take those off, let me know. And then we have our business card branding. I don't know if we're still giving out business cards or not, but if you are, it helps to find a business card that actually represents you. You can get a plain card if you don't want to create something that's too busy, but if you can find one, do that. I leverage this on the back. I leverage a lot of things because I talk to a lot of people. On the back, you can actually write down, like if I give you my business card, then you can say, "I met you here." And I tell people, when you say you met me, tell me where, because I'm not going to remember. I met you at BMS. I met you at PSG. This is what we talked about. Boom, 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 boom. And then I also have some keywords to say, this is me. I'm a leader. I'm an advocate. These are things that I do. When you get a business card, make sure the back of the business card is not laminated because it makes it harder for people to write on it. You can laminate the front, but not the back. You can also put QR codes on there. I also leverage my branding so that now I have, all of you are sitting here with the little sticky names on. I just made one, printed it, found an old thing, and now I walk around and just clip it to my cell phone, I'm done. Now it matches my business cards. So it's easy to do. Here are a couple places you can get business cards, pretty reasonable. Again, if you are strapped for cash and you don't want to spend a lot of money, just go with the plain business card. Okay, but this actually helps. This last link down there is a cam card. I've never used it. Everybody says it works. You slide the business card in, you get 100 of these things. You slide it in, it reads it, puts it in your phone. I don't know if it works. They say it does. I haven't tried it, but I share it. Update your profile picture. Unless you are BB King or you are a guitarist, this is not the type of picture you want. Definitely make sure you're not doing one of these photo shots. I try to tell people, especially women, I know when we go out to dinner and go to a wedding, we do our hair, we do our makeup, we are fabulous, right? You don't look like that every day. So show up as your full self. Your child and your full body isn't helpful when people want to meet you. Definitely don't do a group picture, because who's Terry? And all those pictures, you don't know who Terry is. So you want to make sure it's you. And if you're going to crop yourself out, make sure you don't see shoulders and things. What I do suggest that people do, even if you can't get a professional headshot like this, have somebody take a picture of you with very good lighting on you. Make sure your hair, makeup, whatever is done. You have a nice top on, and you just really need it from your shoulders up. LinkedIn is only going to give you about your head. But as long as you have it against a nice plain background, you can take one with your phone and be okay. If you can afford to go to get a professional headshot, I think I put in my example of extra materials that I gave to David. Somebody said people are getting headshots for $1,000. If I am getting a headshot for $1,000, you better guarantee I'm getting a job. That's just me. Okay, you go JCPenney and get a picture. You can take it with your phone. But really, you want to make sure you have a picture that represents you. And you can't see it here, but there's a website here called Photo Feeder. If you're not sure which picture looks good, you can actually upload a few pictures, and then you can have people vote on it, and then they'll tell you which one it actually is the best picture that will work for you. Again, it's in the link. Okay, I took a picture. I thought I had it in here. I had a picture of myself before I got sick. I had long hair, but people were like, "You look familiar." I had hair down to my shoulders. I got sick. I chopped it off. I walked back into work. People were like, "Who are you?" It was a double take. So show up as yourself. I know people are like, I have this picture from 10 years ago that I look really great in. If you don't look like that now, you should not use that 10-year-old photo. Okay, so update your photo and make sure it's you. Here are some training and personal development. Again, David said they have a whole list. Again, you'll get the slides. You will see a lot of this. One thing I love is my library. I know I'm not in Princeton, so I'm not part of Princeton Library, but I love Mercer County Library System. I have my library card. I can download books through eLibrary NJ. Love it, love it, love it. So talk to your library. If you're not sure, go to the library, because they are helpful. They love to help you and tell you about their library, right? She's in the back like, absolutely. So go to your library, ask for help, say, this is what we're doing, this is what we're looking for. Can you help me with it? And they'll do a lot of things for you. YouTube, you always can get things. If you can't find out how to do something on YouTube, that's really good. And like I said, the TED Talks. The ones that are starred here are the ones that I found that there's a membership fee associated with these. So you may want to scoot past them unless you're able to really take advantage of it. If you're paying for it, make sure you use it. Okay, any questions? I feel like I'm talking really fast. Can you go to the mic? Yeah, so they can hear you, and then I can take another sip.
Press the button on top of the mic.
So my question is, going back to the one-page summary. Thank you. When you take documents like that to an event, what's the likelihood that someone wants to walk around with a piece of paper? You know what I mean? Because it seems like we live in such a digital world now. Are there any suggestions on how you can exchange something like that? I mean, you could obviously get their email and send it to them, but I'm just wondering like what that experience is like now. you know, things have changed. Thank you.
So going back to Marty Latman, it depends.
Okay.
So you can take the paper and people might look at it like, okay, now I have this piece of paper, what do I want to do with it? Other people were like, oh, that's great because now I don't have to worry about connecting to you. But it also shows people that you're really serious about what you're doing and you want to connect to them immediately. They may fold it up and put it in their book. I see you have a book, you're taking notes. They may put it in their book and take notes and look at it later. You just don't know. You can follow up with people if they give you an email or if you give them theirs and you give your email to them and they actually use it. I always say it's up to the person who receives the email or the card to make the first move. So I'm like, here, you want to connect me? Here's my info. And if you really connect to me, then I know you're serious. Otherwise, you're just collecting cards. But if they connect to you or you can connect to them, you can say, here's a paper copy, or would you like a paper copy? I can send you an electronic one if that works better for you. And then you can share that information. I am 10,000 emails down in my Gmail. So I always tell people, if I don't hear back from you, hit me again. Even on LinkedIn. LinkedIn for people, I always say, who don't have jobs. When you have a job, you're not on LinkedIn all the time. You know, you might go in every couple of days or so. So you might miss things. It might be a delay when you reach out to people. So if you don't hear back from people, reach out again. If you have a phone number, I always say, if you don't hear from me, text me. I told David that. I was like, you don't hear from me, text me. I will see the text. I might forget the text too. If I'm in the middle of something, I say, oh, David texted me. And then at the end of the day, I might come back to it. But you got to be aware that people are working, they're busy. This week I worked till 8:30 on 3 different nights. So we're not always in those modes to be able to check my Gmail account when I have my work account. So it's up to the person. Ask. Great question. David, do we have any other questions?
Nothing online now.
All right, I'm going to keep moving. How are we on time? I'm long-winded too. Okay. All right. So one of the things that you're going to do is you're going to meet with people. You really want to decide when you're going to meet with a person. What are you looking to get out of this? Are you looking just to make a new friend? Are you making a new connection? Are you hoping that they're going to guide you to one place or another? Are they going to actually provide information because you're trying to learn more about this industry? So understand what you're going in with and be prepared. If you can, I stalk people on LinkedIn. That's how I met Sharon Farmer. It works. So again, it took me a couple times before she responded to me, but she responded. And I met her and got her to speak at our climate club. So find out what you can, Google them, and see what happens. David, there's a question?
There is a question online. It's from Sonia. Can you please explain there you go, what you meant in reference to numbers after your LinkedIn?
Okay. Can I go here?
And I posted your LinkedIn address on chat.
Okay. I don't know who this person is. Sorry, Kim. Is that somebody who works here? Is that you?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if we can find someone. There's always a Bob. I don't know who Bob is. Make that one work. At the end, you'll see a bunch of numbers. I'm not going to be able to find anybody quickly. Let's see. Okay, there we go. So see how Bob is Bob-Q-3806433B. That is a random number LinkedIn puts behind your URL. And there's all these steps that you have to go through to remove that. So Bob doesn't have a picture. You should have your picture on LinkedIn. Put your picture on LinkedIn. That's what I said, take a headshot, put it on there. Okay, does that answer the question?
Well, she didn't say as much.
Yes.
Okay, good. Any other questions? Let me get back in the room. Any in the room? Okay. I don't want to say I'm habitually late, but I do drive fast, and I drive based on sometimes how quickly I need to get somewhere. I left very early this morning, so I strolled in and I made every light and everything was wonderful. If I was late, I probably would have hit every light. I would have been driving like a maniac. So if you're going to meet someone somewhere, you might want to try to map it out, see how long it takes for you to get there, so you feel relaxed when you get there. You don't want to be stressed out, because I'm always stressed out when I'm late. And if you can track your miles and tolls, I used to be able to write those off on my taxes. I'm not a tax advisor, but track it. Maybe it'll come back. Don't know. Okay. One of the other things that you want to do is try to arrive early. So I tried to make sure I was here early today because I didn't want to be late. Turn off your phone. I did that in the car before I came in. There's nothing worse than being in a meeting or on an interview and your phone ringing. That's horrible. Okay. You can work with people and do, I would say, practice interviews. So you can figure out what your body language is and ask people to give you that feedback. You can do the same thing when you're online. Sorry about that. When you're online, you can do that so people can see what you're doing, what your background looks like. If you're twiddling, as someone said, you used to move around all the time. I used to twiddle a pen. And he said, I thought you was nervous. And that's just me. I'm just always moving. So I know now if I put my hands down here, I can play my hands like this, but it's underneath the camera and nobody sees it. And I can feel a little bit more relaxed. It helps me kind of relax a little bit too. If you are in a meeting, you should have something so you can take notes. If you are there, and no offense to those of us who are over 50, if you have some type of electronics with you, and as somebody, I can't remember who said this, just know how to turn it on and turn it off. That's all you need. But that way it shows them that you are up on technology and that you are, even though you are more senior in your years, that doesn't mean you can't learn something, okay? If you're doing it online, like in your little box, all of you, reboot your computer first, close every window that you can. You don't want anything popping up that you don't want them to see. You don't want your computer to crash, things like that. I work from home, and if I know I have an important meeting, I will put a note on my door, because every time I have a meeting, my stepdad comes and knocks on the window to say hi. He's at my house. He leaves his tools in my garage, so he comes by and knocks on the window every time when I'm on it. So now I put a little sign on the door, do not disturb, on a conference call. I also put out several outfits. I never know what I want to wear, but David knows if I'm going to present, I'm always going to have something red on. I knew I was here and I was going to be behind a podium, so I put leggings on. Just make sure you have on pants, even if you're online, because I had someone that I met and the young man said they asked me to stand up. And he was like, I don't understand why they did that. I said, they wanted to see if you were dialing it in. If you were just really, dressed for the occasion and was serious. If you had on shorts, remember that reporter that had on shorts, I'd be like, oh, you're really not serious about your job. So if you aren't fully dressed, they might think you're not serious for your job. So keep that in mind. On conference call, please, I don't care what system you're using, find your mute button, find the camera button, know where those are, because it can make a huge difference in terms of, can this person use technology, or them seeing or hearing something they shouldn't, right? And if you have a crazy household, go somewhere else. I know every library has rooms that you can go in and actually take a conference call at. You can close the door and it can be really quiet. So keep that in mind. Also things, if you have a house that looks like this, or you have a bed in the background, somebody said, oh, I want to network with you and can we talk? It was a young man. He was in his pajamas and his bed was unmade. Seriously? I'm taking time out of my day to talk to you and help you, and you're dialing it in. So show me the respect that you want me to show you. Have a clean background. If not, hide it. A lot of these applications will allow you to put up different backgrounds to hide it. Some of them do not. I now have a curtain behind me, and I just pull the curtain. Because when I was practicing with Alex, as a matter of fact, in a class that I took with him at Princeton High School, or no, it's a Princeton Adult School? Yeah, the Princeton Adult School. He teaches a class there. We did a practice session online. So he set up Zoom, and we all, dialed in, and then we could all see each other's backgrounds. And they were saying, oh, this looks good, that doesn't, that looks a little busy. My bookshelf does not look like that. I have a very crammed bookshelf with a lot of things, and people said that can be distracting. When they had Dr. Fauci up, and you saw the bookshelf, and I was up there looking, what books does he have, things like that. You see the bike in the background. Sometimes that can be distracting to people, so minimize it as much as possible. I went to IKEA, and this is literally what I have, these little hooks that I was able to put on there. And then I went to the Dollar General store and found some very reasonable curtains and just hung them up. Boom, done. Okay, so keep that in mind. I'm also really big on this, again, with lighting. Lighting is really important. That's why you practice with your friends. There is a YouTube video out there to talk about how to do a really good online video. There's also things that you can do to put lighting on your computer. And again, here it is about dialing in. I love this video. This is a commercial. I think it was for Alka-Seltzer or something. But it drops, and the next thing you know, the man is in his shorts. So be professional. All right. The other thing about video conferencing, you want to make sure you're at eye level. So they helped me here because I'm really short. I didn't think you'd be able to see me over the podium, so I brought a stepladder. I'm telling them myself. See, be authentic. I tell everything. And they raise the camera up so you can really see me. I know people like to stand up. These are not stable. You don't want to be on a call and have, your box fall out from underneath you, or you go like this because you're twiddling your thumb and you hit your little Pringles thing, and the next thing you know, it's falling. So be careful about that. But look, if you look at all the different examples down there, how people are, some are far away, some are in darkness, play around with things so that people can really see you, because that's the only way you're going to connect with them. And you need to be able to look into the camera. And it's hard when you're in it because you're looking down, because you're looking at the people. But when you look up, you have to look up, make sure you're looking at the camera. If it helps, put a little picture. Somebody said they put googly eyes right by the camera so they can feel like they're talking to somebody, even though they're not looking at it. So you just have to practice it. All right. Right before the meeting, have any of you heard of Amy Cuddy? Okay. There's a link in here. She talks about it. It's, again, one of the TED Talks. It's a power pose. It's something that kind of makes you feel a little bit better, like, stand like this, and you're like, oh, yeah, I am Superman. Yeah, I am Superwoman. It makes you feel a little bit better. Just don't do it outside if you're, like, going to an interview that has a lot of windows. Do you know who might have done that? And I realized, like, oh, I hope nobody's watching me. So if you can go in the bathroom and do it, or before you get in your car, maybe do it, but it just makes you feel a little bit better. Then there's absolutely Abby. She talks about you're absolutely qualified. When we have been in the business for 13, 15, 25 years, people are like, oh, well, you're stuck in your ways. You don't adapt. You won't grow. You won't learn. But you can tell them you're absolutely qualified, and then because you're taking all these classes, you can show, no, I've been learning, I've been doing this, or this is what I can do. So that's a really good video to watch. Know that you're prepared. And most importantly, when you get into the meeting, be yourself. Again, there's only one you. It can be a little nerve-wracking. Again, smile. Please make sure it's not one of these, when you're stressed, try to think of something nice, or kittens or whatever. That's something that's going to make you smile. Some people say they like to listen to podcasts or comedians on the way into an interview, because it makes them laugh and relaxes them. So whatever they're going to do. A firm handshake, those things that are going like this, they drive you bananas. I don't know if we're still doing handshakes. That's why I put a question mark there. Ask the person. They may ask you, no, I don't want to do that. I'm okay with it. But if you are going to have a handshake, make sure it's firm. The other thing is, if you can meet with somebody and you can pay for a coffee. I know Starbucks is like $20 a coffee. No, I'm just kidding. It's $7. I don't know. I don't drink coffee, so This is a disclaimer. There's nothing for Starbucks. I know we're recording. But when you talk to them, you want to make sure it's a conversation. You learn about them, they learn about you, and you walk away with, again, what did you want from that meeting? Meeting somebody new, or actually learning about the company, or learning about the industry, or maybe some type of connection. Do not go in there and ask them for a job. Even when you're networking with people and sending them things, do not ask them for a job. It puts people on the defensive, but now they're like, oh, I gotta help you find a job. I don't know if I can do that, and they run in the other direction. Ask them how can you help them, and how can they help you? Can they provide guidance and information? Once you're done with that meeting, wherever it may be, send a thank you. I know Alex says he likes to send out thank yous during like FedEx. That's expensive, Alex. I don't do that. Now, email is acceptable. A phone call is acceptable. A text is not. But send some type of thank you. It was nice meeting you. And when you do that, try to tie in a story about yourself, what you learned about them. I'm glad we talked about, Arkansas Razorbacks. I'm sorry, I just came back from Arkansas with my family. Arkansas Razorbacks. And you make a connection with them. And they will remember you that way. Okay? Oh, one more thing. Be prepared to be Googled. Remember that whole social media? They will Google you. They will look at your LinkedIn. They will find you. If they don't, HR will. So just be prepared for that. These are the 5 P's. Margarita, one of my networking friends, she shared this. She said, proper preparation prevents poor performance. So if you've done all these things, when you get in a meeting, you're gonna be relaxed, you're gonna be fine. I know what I'm doing. This is my resume. This is who I am. These are the things I can do. I've looked you up as much as I can. I've stalked you on LinkedIn. I know that you like certain things. You might find them on Twitter. You might find them, especially if they're higher up in the company, they may have Twitter accounts. They may have professional Twitter accounts. So look and see what they're out there. And then while you're doing all this, find a way to reduce your stress. Looking for the job is the most stressful thing in the world, unless it's just me. So, like I said, get out of the house, go meet friends, take a walk in the neighborhood. I know, gas prices were high. I walked the neighborhood. I found out things through COVID in my neighborhood I never knew existed. I'm like, oh, this person has a really nice garden. And I would go take pictures of the garden. So do things that'll make you feel better. I say yoga, and she looks really great at the top. I look more like those guys on the side. Okay? You can actually find yoga on YouTube, free. So you don't always have to pay for things. Look for things that are free. Groupon is where you can go. It's a website where you can go get like discounted tickets for different things. So you can try to treat yourself every now and again, but find something that makes you happy and makes you stress-free. And I want to say, just keep trying, because you will land a position. This is temporary. You will land. And with that, I'm going to say, also pay it forward. That's why I'm here. I took a day off because I want to give back. These are all the things I learned from all the different people that I sat and listened to when I was, this is how David got me here. Let's be honest. So David, I was in an organization. They said, oh, well, everybody has to do a small presentation. It was a real small group. And I said, well, I noticed we go to all these different events and everybody has their a subject matter expert for one thing, and that's what they talk about. And sometimes, like, I needed to know that 2 months ago. So I said, it'd be great if we just had a list of everything. And they was like, oh, you should do that. And now I'm here. But I pay it forward by coming back. So even once you get a job, you might not be able to come back on a Friday, but maybe try finding some of those other networking groups, or stay connected on LinkedIn, or keep checking in with people and see how they're doing it. Pay it forward, because that also makes you feel good when you help somebody else. And then last but not least, here are all my connections. I do have all the documents that I said I was going to share on my Google Drive, but I also gave them to David. So David will post them on your PSG site. You'll have them too. There's things like a list of questions that I had pulled out of different websites of which you could be asked during an interview. I have a master document list, I think. I have that, the little profile, using my words here. I have a list of books that were shared. And like I said, everybody comes with, you know, here's a book, here's a book, here's a TED Talk. Anything that I gathered over the years, I put in that one document. So there's a lot of information to share. And that's there. And then Diane, who's not here today, I miss Diane. She always says, remember tomorrow's future really starts today in life and in your career. So you can always do this. So whatever you do today is going to help you tomorrow. All right. And I have appendix with some other slides that I just like this video. This is why we say do, I know I'm over and this is probably unnecessary, but anyway, I want to do it. When we say go ahead and do training, because this video and it's for the University of Phoenix, you know, they're doing their work and little by little, they start automating things and then finally they get to this one person. That's what happens. So go ahead and do all your work. Once you're actually hired into a company, get involved, network, volunteer, let people know who you are. That's how I landed at VMS, because I was active in different things that people could see what I could do. And he was like, oh, we don't want you to leave. I'm like, yeah, well, let me help you find a job. Tell me what's coming up. And that's what they did. All right, I'm gonna go back to my contact information in case anybody wants to write that down. But again, thank you very much for having me. And are there any other questions?
So folks, anybody online, if you'd like to unmute and quickly ask a question, we'll hang out a second.
And I'm getting faster. I did it within an hour this time, David. That's pretty good.
Valerie, it's John Sampson. I wondered if you have any comments about the job market we're hearing about out there.
As Marty said, it depends. So depending on who you talk to, people don't want to work. Depending on who you talk to, there's 1,001 jobs out there because people don't want to work. I really think is that people have decided that they may not want to work in certain industries or work certain hours and not get paid or be exposed. You know, I think COVID scared a lot of people. You know, a lot of people died. There's no nice way of saying that. So there are a lot of open positions. They weren't all retirees and grandparents who passed away. So there are a lot of positions open there. A lot of people are now saying, I don't want to work in a company. I want to work from home. And certain companies are flexing and allowing that, and certain companies are saying, no, you have to be in. So I think the jobs are out there, just like they were before. Just have to keep looking for them and see them, again, what works for you. I don't want to work in an office building, so then you need to make sure when you go in for those interviews, you are asking that question. You know, do I have to be on campus? Do I have to be live and in person? You know, can we negotiate that? Do I have to relocate? You know, those are questions you have to ask, but as far as I know, people are still hiring. Bigger companies always seem to take forever to get through anything. Educational schools and things, people tell me those take like months for people to go through interviews. You know, smaller companies might be a little faster. It really depends. Nice to hear from you, John.
Thank you.
Tell the other Samson I said hello.
I will do that.
Anyone else?
Hello, this is Sonia. I have a question. Do you think there's still an issue out there when it comes to ageism? If you've been in a position, say, I don't know, over like 25 years plus, and, you know, companies have actually eliminated the position and they've brought in people who are like 23, 24. Is it not, I mean, is it an issue, do you think, in companies today?
In the words of Marty Lavin, it depends.
Okay.
Certain companies, it definitely could be an issue, and certain companies it won't. I know Gary back there has gotten multiple positions after his 50s. That's what I'm going to say, right, Gary? There are all type of isms out there. And one of the things that's why people say, I don't want to put my picture out there because they're gonna know I'm not 20. No. When you show up, they're gonna know you're not 20. When you look at their resume, they're gonna see all the things that's on your resume, they're gonna know you're not 20. So put it out there. Some companies are looking for people who have seniority, who have some type of background. I know one person said that they didn't want to hire someone because, you know, they were at a higher range and they said they wanted to take a step back. But in taking a step back, they would have to do things like in Excel. And they would have to track things and do this, things that they would normally have given to an admin or somebody else on their team. And they felt like that person wouldn't be able to do the work. So going in saying, hey, not only do I want to take a step back, here's an example of a spreadsheet that I did. Shows them that you can do the work, you're willing to do the work. So you have to really kind of address that and say, I know I'm a little bit older, I know I've been doing this for umpteen years, but I really want to take a step back and I want to be more in support staff. Here's what I can do, and you can show them what you can do. If they're going to have an ism against you, better you know before you walk in the door. That's my personal opinion.
And thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, there's both of you. So whoever goes first, whoever gets to the mic first.
Hey,
Yeah.
go.
So, my question on the topic of ageism. I'm working with LHH, which has been amazing. I'm only like a few weeks in.
And for everybody who doesn't know that, that's Lee Heck Harrison, and they help out when people are laid off with jobs. They help you regroup.
Yeah, and I'm, it's been a great experience. They advised only showing 10 to maybe 15 years of experience on your resume. And so I knocked a few things off. But with that, the woman who redid my resume kept the 2 items that I removed and didn't put any dates. She listed it under additional experience. Now, having that additional experience without any dates and trying to be consistent with what's being posted on LinkedIn, I decided to just remove those 2 items off my resume. So only showing 15 years right now. So I just wanted to mention that and get your thoughts on that. Because if I do keep the other items, it would add, you know, maybe an extra 10 years, and I'd rather not do that.
Did you have a comment associated with that?
Yes.
If so, you have to go yes. Otherwise, the people on the line won't hear you. And if I recap, there's no telling what I might say. It's at the top.
Okay. All right. So this.
And it's on there.
This is just a comment to the previous comment. I would think the associated information may depend on what type of job you're going for, and maybe it is important depending on what you want to do. So that's just my comment. But I have a question. And sorry to the gentleman who I'm cutting in front of.
Can I answer that before you ask your question?
Sure.
I think you're absolutely right. It depends. That's why we said do the master resume and then pull out the things that are not relevant to the job or the position that you're going for.
And I did that, but I'm just concerned
On
about
LinkedIn.
consistency, right? So
Yep.
today they're showing, tomorrow I remove them because I'm trying to be.
I wouldn't be updating LinkedIn that much like that, although LinkedIn is based on activity. So whether you post or you go on there and change a couple words around, it kind of puts you back up. The less you do in LinkedIn, whether that's on your profile page or anywhere else, the further down in the list you go in terms of rankings, I guess is the best word for it. But the reason why I wouldn't, LinkedIn should be as general as possible. I think it's okay to have more on your LinkedIn than a resume that you go there, because if you say on this site, I'm gonna go put these 5 things on, and then they go to LinkedIn, they find 5 more things. That's okay, because they're saying, oh, you've extended it. Other people say you shouldn't have your whole resume on LinkedIn. So it depends on what you feel comfortable with. But if you send out a resume to company A, and then you tweak your LinkedIn to match company A, and then 5 days later, a week later, you put out another resume for company B, now you tweak it from company B, what happens if company A goes and look at it, and now it's different.
Right.
So keep LinkedIn as general as possible, and then you can tweak those others. It should match. But if you see a little bit more on one or the other, they might say, oh, well, I saw you had something on LinkedIn and not on your resume, and vice versa, and then you can speak to it. But you have to feel comfortable with it. Because I know I had a friend, he helped tweak my resume, and my godmother looked at it and said, I can't say what she said, but she was asking me that. I was like, well, he said it would work. And she's like, well, can you explain it to me? So you have to be able to speak to your resume. So the way he tweaked it, I couldn't really explain it. So she's like, you need to change it. You need to be authentic, and it should be you, whatever it comes down to. You're welcome. Okay.
Okay, my related question. Resume page length, is that something to be overly concerned about or not? Or does it depend?
It depends. So everybody's like, oh, she's not giving us any answers at all. It depends on who you're going for. Some people say keep it at least to 2 pages, if you can. So again, and please do not do these 2 things. Do not make the text so small that anybody has to get a magnifying glass to read it. Don't try to make it like 8 characters because you want to jam as much as possible. Don't try to mess around with your margins and do all those things. Be really consistent. I don't have my glasses on now, but if I got something like that, I would have to put my reading glasses on to see it. So be conscious about that. That's another reason why they say limit how much you put on there, limit it to, the last 5, 10, 15 years. If you're in academia, they want you to have a book, because there's like, some of them are like 20 pages long, because they want you to list all the things that you've done and all the things you published and yada, 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 yada. So it really does depend. You can work with somebody like Gary who does resumes, and they can help you kind of tweak that. Gary's like, she's throwing my name out a lot. So there you go. Wave in the background, Gary, so they know who we're talking about. Usually I would say keep it around at least 2. It's probably comfortable, but consider this: when I was hiring people and I got a long resume, I looked at the first 1/3 of the picture of the resume, then I went to the back and looked at what their skill sets were, and I was done. I maybe had gone back and skimmed in the middle, but it depended on how long the resume was and how much time I had. So that's my honest and truthful answer. And sir, you've been waiting so patiently.
I have a comment and a question about ages.
Can you go to the microphone?
I don't have anything else to say because it's been said.
Oh,
You covered it great.
okay,
Oh, thank you.
okay. They're duplicate questions. We're all seasoned like fine wine. But again, if you can show them that you are up on technology, bring in your, okay, I love my mother. So let me say that first, in case she ever finds this. She had a flip phone forever. And the only way we were able to get her out of her flip phone is they said they were no longer going to support that flip phone. Okay, so she got a smartphone. So if you are in, if you're in an interview or you're networking with someone, pull out your phone if you have a smartphone. Borrow someone's iPad, just like I said, and I don't know who I got this from, so I can't say who I leveraged this from. It was from Abby? Just be able to turn it on and turn it off. So, and then you can be to me, oh, let me turn this off so we're not disturbed. Like, it's all. They're like, oh, okay, well, they got an iPad. They're up on technology. So you want to show that. And if you go on LinkedIn and you are posting things about technology or what's new in your industry or in the industry that you're interested in, then it shows that you're staying on top of things. Or again, create presentation, Excel spreadsheet, PowerPoint slides. Say, oh yeah, I was learning this and here's an example of what I can do. All I can say about ageism, it's going to get us all. Any other questions?
And then you get a discount on the Jersey Transit.
I know.
Covering that now?
Yes, New Jersey Transit gives discounts. All right. Well, thank you, everybody.
So Valerie, thank you so much. I'm always so pleased and grateful when you're able to come and present, because of course, like she said, she's working full time. So she took some time out of her schedule, professional and personal, to be with us. Thank you very much. There's a little bit of good news. I don't know if you had seen this on the news the other day. The Williams sisters are retiring. So hopefully in a couple of years, they'll forget them and we'll only think of you. And so that'll be a lot better. Valerie and I have known each other for a number of years. I don't remember exactly which group we met in, but one was this small group. Was it here? Okay.
Here.
Was a small kind of networking group, and we each were asked every other week that we met to do a small presentation, and she created this for us in the group, and I just loved it, and has now since blossomed into a very robust presentation. So thank you so much for continuing, and she maintains it with each presentation, so thank you for that. My only question, if there's not going to be a firm handshake, we have to be careful not to do a firm fist bump, because you just don't know what's going to happen with a firm fist bump. So you're going to have to update that slide. Just be careful. But the slides in the video will be available a little bit later today. Once I get home and actually GoToMeeting processes the video, and we'll have that available. It is going to be on our website. When you look at our website, there is a link on the right side, or for you, the right side, and it's called Meeting Presentation Documents. Just look for that link. It's on each page, and when you click on that, a new page will open with dates and descriptions of each of this year's presentations. And so for the presenters like Valerie, who allow us to do recording and share materials, we post that there for all of us. So there's a whole list. And by the way, the bottom of the page is links to all of our prior years to the end of 2013 that we started publishing stuff. So you can see other topics as well. I want to let you know also what's happening over the next couple of weeks. So next week will be Labor Day weekend, and we will actually not be here for Labor Day weekend. Kind of odd that those of us who are not working will not be here on Labor Day weekend. But so that's what it'll be. We're taking Labor Day weekend off because we know a lot of families do get together and attendance may be a little down, so we don't want to interfere with that. So September 2nd, next week, we will not be meeting in person or online. And September 9th, we'll be right back here. Ken Lang will be presenting LinkedIn audio events, what it is and how to use it. LinkedIn has kind of a presentation service where you can do LinkedIn audio and video. And Ken will be presenting that as a topic. So if you want to learn more about that, either to create your own or just to participate as a viewer, that's what we'll be talking about in 2 weeks. We'll be right back here. Ken will be virtual, but we will be here as well here at our home in the library. Other presentations that will be coming up soon. The 10th of September, I think it's the 10th, I wrote the date wrong. Saturday, that second Saturday month, the Breakfast Club of New Jersey will be presenting Alex Freund. Alex Freund will be talking about the bot is ready to interview you now. The bot is kind of a robot or an application, and more companies, bigger companies, are using these AI to interview you before a real person interviews you. And so Alex has done a lot of research. He is a career coach, an interview coach, and he will talk about that. That is the second Saturday of September, I believe it's the 10th, 8 o'clock in the morning, thebreakfastclubnj.com, thebreakfastclubnj.com. And also our cousin organizations, PSG of Central New Jersey meets each Monday at 10:30, psgcnj.biz, psgcnj.biz. I believe that the Labor Day meeting will be on Tuesday. They typically move their Monday holiday meetings to the next day. And that is virtual. And also PSG of Morris County, psgmc.org, psgmc.org meets on Wednesdays at 10:30. And what you'll see also on our group's website, there's a menu at top. There's one called Resources, and if you click on there, there's 2 columns with logos and links, and a lot of those networking groups are there, including the link to Alex Freund's networking list. And when you click on his networking list, you just put in your zip code and a bunch pop up. Of course, if it's virtual, it doesn't matter what distance you're traveling because you'll be virtual, but some are now meeting in person as we are. So that's what we have coming up for the next couple of weeks. Once again, Valerie, thank you so much for presenting to us and being a good friend and supporter of the PSG of Mercer County, as well as the groups in general. And so until we get to see you all again very soon, virtually or in person in 2 weeks, we'll simply say, bye, everybody.